Boy, it is super windy out here. Every time I come out here and try to do something, it's going to rain or hail or a tornado. Hurricane's coming. I want to talk about learned helplessness, right? And not to mistaken this learned helplessness with acceptance, right? Acceptance is very different. So what is learned helplessness? Learned helplessness is a learned acceptance of our powerlessness over a situation where there may be other options we can utilize to help bring change. Simply put, it is, I give up. I give up to the situation. And now this is, and I've said this many times, I've said this in my book, giving up is not the same as surrendering to the currents. It's not the same. Giving up, it just means I'm not playing this anymore. I'm not fighting. I'm done. Again, that's a very dark place before you get to a much darker place. Okay? It's not the same as I'm going to surrender, as they say, give up and allow God. I'm not just allowing God. I'm not just allowing the universe to, I'm not giving faith in this bigger idea that something is guiding me and maybe there's a bigger meaning to all this. It's not exactly that, right? It's just, I give up. I can't do it anymore. And so learn helplessness, we start to learn this kind of thing early in our life. Again, so much of what I deal with coaching and Benzo, and it's all connected to mental health, right? So we can never look at the Benzo situation of withdrawal and recovery strictly from the lens of, chemical. It's just a chemical problem, took a drug, and having this chemical situation happening here. Well, no, there was a pre-existing thing. There was a manifesting things. There was the things that happened along the way, things lost, new things. Who you were 10 years ago when you started the drug isn't who you are now, most likely. There's a lot of variables that need to go into consideration, right? So learned helplessness is one of these things that can start early in our life where we start to attribute things externally as being the causal problems in our life. It's not my fault I lost that job. My boss was just dumb or something to that effect, right? This is what we call locus of control in psychology. And if you look at prisoners, a lot of prisoners have a low locus of control. They don't have accountability and things like that. Well, learned helplessness is a little bit similar, right? It's not exactly being an immoral person or anything, any nonsense like that. It's very personal. It's just a sense that you have that I'm powerless over situations in my life, whether it's food or job or relationship or money or Benzo, right? It's just, I can't do this. I'm powerless. I'm going to give up. Surrender, on the other hand, is a letting go. It is, as Alan Watts said, we don't try to swim by gripping the waves, right? You got to let go and you got to learn to float. I think that's another profound, maybe seemingly small or even trivial aspect, psychologically speaking, of the perception required to heal from Benzo. But it's profound. A lot of who we are and what we think we know is based in these identifications with thoughts, concepts, symbolism, beliefs. These are the clothes we wear. And you can see someone completely change their life, chemically and otherwise, completely change their personality, which anyone in psychology knows is almost impossible, just by learning to change the symbolism and the beliefs of the events and the explanations and even, dare I say, the fabric of identity schema that clothes them. Right? It's learning to see the world differently. For example, I used to be petrified of guns. I hated guns. I had a family member die of a gun. I just never had been fond of guns. Eventually, I learned with my uncle to go shoot clay targets. Had a new appreciation for shotguns. I said, this is kind of interesting. I like the nature of this. I like the sportsmanship of it. It changed completely my entire perception and attitude toward something like the Second Amendment and guns. Right? Not to get political at all, but that's how it works. That's how everything works. So, and so in that regard, seeing what you're going through, not as this helpless situation, not just this damn curse that you found yourself in, but as an opportunity, as painful and as terrible as it is, to grow, to become out of this thing version 2.0 of yourself, stronger, better, faster, smarter, with a better lifestyle, with more empathy, with more respect and appreciation for the fragile moments you have left in life. This is what's born out of the worst situations, right? And I know what you're thinking, and there's almost this, screw you, Dave, with your happy-go-lucky ass attitude with all this stuff. And that's not what I'm trying to come across as in any way, shape, or form. But whether we're talking about victims of war, people coming from the Middle East that grew up in war zones and come to America and they adapt and they grow and go to college and they become great, productive people and they move on with their lives. People that were raped, people that were exposed to disabilities and cancers. Man, the human spirit is so amazing, guys, what we can come back from and what we can become like alchemy when we can transmute this pain and suffering and become, and sort of transmute it and spin it into gold, right? The spiritual gold is what it is. And so the silver lining for me has always been that coming through this. Not that I don't know, I don't think I would ever want this for myself. I don't think if you asked me when it was all said and done, would I go back and do that again, do this, go through this all again? I don't know. I don't know. But I'll tell you, I'm not completely lost in despair that it did happen because I know that I'm spiritually stronger now. I know my lifestyle is a little bit better. My work ethic is better. My appreciation for the people in my life, the appreciation for life, the perspective of how fleeting it all is, and this new passion now that I'm come out the other side of this to like get back to life and get busy and get really working because I don't know how much time I have, and I just want to do it all. I want to do everything that my heart desires to do in this planet while with the time I have left. And again, I think that's the silver lining, and I think that's the kind of perception that needs to change, from this learned helplessness, this learned I'm a victim, this learned I can't control things, therefore I just need to give up. It's a poor, what would you call it, maladaptive pattern.